formed the groups in the late winter last year. And the topics were chosen because they seemed to be things that were very important to schools, and a number of schools were working on. So we formed 4 groups, one having to do with multiple modalities in the same classroom, which had online students and in-person students in the same classroom, and how faculty and staff were working to adapt to that. One had to do with competency-based theological education. One had to do with human formation of students. And then the one we just met was on prior learning assessment. And what we did is took those 4 topics and sent a memo out to academic deans asking them if they had people they'd recommend to be part of those conversation groups. The goal of each of them was to bring people together from a variety of schools and have them talk about this topic, do some investigation, research about the topic, and then ultimately come up with some resources and ideas, best practices, resources of various kinds that schools could utilize in order to do those things within their institutions. Yeah, they were nominated by academic deans, and we asked the deans to specify why this person would be a good person to be involved in that conversation, what expertise they brought, what interests they had in the topic. And from those nominations, we selected the 4 different groups, trying to get a good mix of schools, different sizes, shapes, types of schools, and using those nominations of people who would be really good contributors to that particular topic. We brought them together first via Zoom in the spring, and then they met also in person at the biennial meeting in June. We've met again via Zoom in the early fall, and now we're beginning to have some face-to-face kind of wrap-up meetings of the groups. 3 of them are meeting face-to-face in the fall, and one of them will complete its work through a series of Zoom meetings. Yeah, they grew out of the Educational Models Project, some of the questions that emerged there that continue to need attention. And then in the Organizational and Educational Models Project, which is a follow-up to the Ed Models Project, these topics emerged as needing additional attention. And a few of them also reflect efforts that are underway from some of the schools that got Pathways for Tomorrow grants. So, for example, a number of the schools that got Pathways grants are trying to explore how to connect with new constituencies. And some of those constituencies are people that maybe don't have traditional credentials to come into graduate theological school, graduate theological education. The 2020 standards no longer have the 15% rule about people who don't have baccalaureate degrees coming into being admitted to theological study. But they require the schools to document, and the language is rigorous means, through rigorous means, that these people are able to do the graduate theological study. The prior learning assessment is one way of doing that, is to find out ways to give people at least recognition, if not credit, and in some cases credit, but usually just recognizing the learning that they already bring to their theological education. And prior learning assessment is a creative way to look at those non-traditional ways of learning and find ways to recognize those as, in this case, an equivalent to a baccalaureate degree, at least in terms of preparing somebody to do graduate theological study.